Alright guys, welcome back to another Opera Omnia video, where we are back for another Who Should You BT Plus video. And in this video, we are going to be covering Vincent and Sephiroth. Now, both of these two characters are going to be getting reworks. They'll see 90s. Sephiroth will finally be getting his BT Plus, and then Vincent will finally be getting his BT weapon. Now, if you haven't been to any of the previous Who Should You BT Plus videos, me and my good friend Kaiden, we cover many things when it comes to the next pair of BT units that is going to be dropping to Global DFFOO. I will be covering the reworks and everything that you need to know about their kits, and then Kaiden will be covering the pros and cons and characters that synergize well with them. So, also, we decided to add something new towards the end of the video, because normally we will talk about our plans for the next pair of BT units, but we decided to add a specific section mainly for our newer players or players who have just recently started, by talking about both banners and like which one has a better value than the other, or just in general, like what would you get if you pull for this banner or this other banner. So we decided to add that in there. We would appreciate any feedback to try to improve that specific section, as we would like to make sure that everything is at its bestest. Is that a word? I don't know, but we're gonna go with it. So let us know what your plans are going to be for the next pair of BT units dropping to global, and make sure to check out Kaiden's channel. That link will be down in the description of this video and in a pinned comment. And with that being said though, guys, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
さらなる高みへお別れだ
So we'll first start off with Sephiroth's rework to his skill 1, which gains 2 more uses. It now turns into a 3-hit AoE melee brave, plus an AoE HP attack 2 times that deals full HP damage and increases brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt after each HP attack. It then follows up with a 4-hit melee brave, plus an HP attack 2 times that increases brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt after each HP attack except for the last. His skill 2 also gains an additional 2 uses. It now increases brave by 300% of his attack, plus an HP attack, then a melee brave, plus an HP attack 7 times that deals 50% splash damage, and increases brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt after each HP attack except for the last. His LD extension now increases his brave by 500% of his attack, plus an AoE HP attack, followed by a 4-hit AoE melee brave, plus an AoE HP attack 4 times that increases brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt after each HP attack except for the last. His LD buff adds a 20% HP damage up, now totaling 30%. With his C90, his EX ability inflicts break to all enemies unless already broken. He increases brave by 200% of attack, plus an AoE magic HP attack 5 times that increases brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt after each HP attack except for the last. His C65 got extended to 6 turns and adds a 35% attack up, now totaling 50%, and a 40% brave damage cap up. Now Sephiroth, he gets his access to his BT Plus and gains the following. His BT effect gets extended to 4 turns. Previously it was 3 turns. And then when it comes to his BT effect, at which you are able to get these additional auras at 2 out of 3, it adds a 100% party attack up, a 50% party brave damage cap up, and a 50% party brave gains up. So now we're moving into the pros and cons for Sephiroth, and of course we have our default tactician Kaiden himself. Welcome back, my friend. Good to have you.
Good to be here again. I still can't live down this whole tactician comment, but we'll see. Good to be back. Alright guys, so Lost has been wanting me to talk about this for a minute. I'm surprised, since I'm the larvae form and since he likes to think that he's the original, we'll talk about Sephiroth now. Sephiroth,
okay.
with his pros for sure. He actually got a decent damage upgrade this time around, so I definitely want to give that to his pros section. Being able to deal a lot of HP damage is going to make or break a lot of DPS units coming forward or going forward, and Sephiroth is actually able to contend a little bit more than anybody else. You'd be very surprised to see how high his damage output can be. His next one is that when it does come down to him, if you can run a high FR, or if you can get the FR gauge high enough, with, as I said before, Sephiroth's HP damage output, he has a lot of HP dumps built into his kit, and he has been showcased numerous times being able to one-shot a boss with Octic Slash, believe it or not. So he does have some FR capabilities. I wouldn't put him in the team solely for that reason, but like if you do put him in a team, switch him out, build the FR gauge as high as possible with the main team that you're going to be running with, but as soon as he comes back, just destroy something relatively quick. He has very good FR scaling if you can make the FR scale high enough to where he can take advantage of it. But that's going to be the second one. And his third one is going to be talking about his BT effect. With his BT effect, as Lost already stated earlier in the video, he gets some very nice auras attached to it, but with his BT effect now, even though it only really got one additional turn added onto it, you can still take advantage of it. So running him with turn hoggers or running him with other units who can act multiple times, you'll be able to break delay in a target or to keep an enemy boss away. That's the reason why we have him here as the third slot and as his third pro. He does have utility in his kit now. He definitely offers a lot going on with him too. Being able to have the brave damage cap up and the brave gains up is one thing, but the ability to be able to break delay a target is going to be very influential and very beneficial for you guys too overall. Now we move to his con section. His con section is kind of tricky. His BT effect, as we talked about from before, is only 4 turns. That it is short. There's a reason on why it is short. Sephiroth also, once he gets his stacks up and running, he becomes very, very fast. He goes from being very slow to being very quick. So overall, you're definitely wanting to make sure that if you are going to be using his BT, please make sure that you guys are timing it properly. When it does come down to his BT, you definitely want to take advantage of it. And if he is jumping in the turn order, you're going to be running out of that real quickly. Sadly, it is 4 turns, but you can get a lot. If you know what you're doing and if you know how to handle an enemy, you can get a lot out of it. The next one is going to be the HP damage cap up that he's going to be suffering with. As his own character, he definitely has like a lot going on in his kit to where he can definitely deal a lot of HP damage, as we talked about from before. But in order to really maximize him, you definitely need to get him to be able to hit his HP caps and hit higher HP damage caps. So running him with other units who can increase his HP damage cap up overall will help him out tremendously for his own personal damage. It isn't necessarily a con, but he needs others to help him hit those higher numbers overall. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about, is that with his BT effect, it gives him a 50% Brave gains up, but because of, as we stated from before, that Brave gains is very big for him when it's active, but when that BT effect is gone, he needs a unit who can help him maintain his Brave gains overall, because during a lot of his hits, he does have like a 20% Brave cashback to some degree, just a little bit, not a lot. So when Brave gain reductions kick in, you'll definitely notice that 20% goes not as big. So running him with other units who can help him hit those or be able to help him get those Brave gains back would be very beneficial for him overall. He's not very self-sufficient in that fashion because of how short that BT effect can be, but when the BT effect is gone, you definitely need to make sure that you're covering that base. That's just about it for him overall. Definitely want to give him the credit where the credit is due. I've seen him run a few times in JP, and the times that I did see him in action, he has been able to crush things relatively quick, as long as, again, playing to the FR. But I really think that he did get a good touch up on his with this update coming for him soon.
見せてやろう。行くぞ。楽にしてやろう。沈め。
Now we'll look into Vincent with his rework to his skill 1, which gains 3 more uses. It turns into a 4-hit AoE fire ranged brave plus a single target HP attack 3 times. The plus version deals 50% splash damage with an increase in brave potency. His skill 2 turns into a 4-hit AoE thunder ranged brave plus a single target HP attack 3 times. The Plus version deals 50% splash damage with an increase in Brave potency, and both skills increases Brave damage to a single target by 60%. With his C90, his EX ability turns into a 5-hit AoE ranged Brave, plus a single target HP attack 4 times that deals 50% splash damage after each HP attack. It extends the Nightmare debuff to 6 turns and gets a free ability use on his next turn. The Nightmare debuff adds a 20% Brave damage resist down and a 10% HP damage resist down. His C65 got extended to 7 turns and adds a 20% party attack up and a 20% Brave damage cap up. His LD extension turns his LD ability into a 4-hit AoE ranged Brave, plus an AoE HP attack 4 times that deals full HP damage. It inflicts the Fire and Thunder resist down debuffs to all targets for 4 turns after the first HP attack. Now his overhead adds a 20% HP damage up and extends the duration of inflicted debuffs by 2 turns. His follow-up attack turns into a 6-hit ranged Brave, plus an HP attack 3 times. Vincent BT at base level is a 15-hit AoE ranged Brave, plus an AoE HP attack that deals split HP damage. It grants a Finale Chaotic BT effect for 10 turns. At 0 out of 3, it turns his finisher into a 10-hit AoE ranged Brave, plus an AoE HP attack 2 times. At 1 out of 3, you gain an additional turn during the BT phase. At 2 out of 3, the BT effect gains the following, which does include the BT effect at its base state. So at its base state, all enemies will be receiving a 50% attack down, a 50% max Brave down, 50% defense down, 50% speed down, a 30% Brave damage resist down, a 20% HP damage resist down, and it prevents all enemies to be unable to grant any buffs whatsoever. And then at 2 out of 3, if you fully limit break or get into 2 out of 3 for his BT weapon, it adds all enemies HP damage resist down an additional 10%, so now it's going to be 30%, and a 30% party Brave damage cap up, and at 3 out of 3, you'll have access to his BT effect.
And now we move on to Vincent. I really think that Vincent is going to be a very beneficial member to a lot of people's rosters. So if you guys can actually pick him up, he did get his global first LD for us, but unfortunately we all know that he does not have LD boards. But now he's going to be getting those LD boards, as Law stated earlier, and on top of that, he's going to be getting his BT. And I think this BT is, I'm going to be biased, is really strong. But we'll go ahead and talk about his pros first. He did get a damage upgrade with this update. I definitely think that it's fairly decent for him overall, so I really want to give like a quick nod to his damage output going up. Also, he's able to hit weaknesses. As long as you are, as we're going to be going forward, as long as he's able to hit those elemental weaknesses, he should be able to hit high Brave damage overall. Unless you're coming across a stage where it's just heavily Brave damage resistant, but even still, Vincent has enough in his kit to where he can ridiculously lower enemy stat weights all across the board, so I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about that. But him being able to hit fairly decent and him being able to hit weakness will definitely benefit him greatly. The next one is going to be talking about his debuffs. He has a very potent attack down, being 80%, and it may be generic, but that attack down can be very massive, stacked on top of his high armor, along with his BT effect. If you are rolling all of that, you will be able to notice that the enemy will be hitting for pennies versus them hitting for 9,999. That can be deadly sometimes, but Vincent is here to help cripple some bosses in some situations. Vincent does have high turn rate, and I wanted to make like a quick nod to this because he has the moments where he can definitely be very beneficial, where he can jump up in front of an enemy and lower their Brave a little bit more if they do have Brave before their next turn. So I've been running him. I've definitely seen him save my runs a couple of times here and there, but Vincent is kind of he's known for that high turn rate, and we'll talk about the other half in just a second. When it does come down to his cons, however, Vincent relies heavily on debuffs. And it's not so much him relying on debuffs, it's so much that his follow-up is propped on those debuffs. And if you don't have debuffs, or you come across a boss that is just immune to all debuffs, Vincent's damage output gets cut in half because he can't use his follow-up from his LD overhead. Unfortunate, but like, you need to make sure that you're able to run debuffs with him. He likes debuffs, and he is classed as a heavy debuffer, so we'll roll with this. The next one I wanted to talk about is his elemental damage output. There's going to be some fights in the future that we're going to be coming across that are going to be elemental resistance. You have to hit certain elements in order for you to be able to deal damage. In some stages, they're going to be like holy and dark. It'll be like thunder damage. It'll be like water damage. And Vincent hits fire and thunder, so he can participate in thunder fights, but it's going to be kind of hard to roll around a thunder fight if you're only going to be using live fire shot. That's pretty bad overall. You don't want to be in that type of situation, but elemental fights are very far and few in between, but there's going to be like a patch where there's like multiple of them back to back, but as global players, we won't be seeing that for a while. JP players have experienced it. Some of them didn't like it, but I mean, overall, it's just something that we have to keep in mind, and it's going to be something that we're going to encounter. And the last part, he definitely needs Brave. Like, he definitely needs a unit in the team or as a call to support him to be able to hit those Brave damage caps, or like HP damage caps overall. He has a lot of Brave hits into his kits. You definitely want to be able to make sure that he's hitting those Brave damage caps. It's like, as we talked about with Sephiroth 2, having HP damage cap up and HP damage increase would help him out dramatically overall. And a lot of the BT units, we need them to be able to hit higher damage caps, because the HP damage checks that we're going to be dealing with are going to be massive. And if you can find a way to help Vincent maintain his Brave before his turn, after his turn, and making sure that he can get Brave during his turns, like Kate said, Alize, a couple of different calls who can help assist with that, be very beneficial to him overall. I still think, more than anything else, Vincent, this update got a very nice touch-up overall for him, both him and Sephiroth, but I definitely say Vincent got the most love out of this.
So now we get to the end of the video where we're going to be talking about who we are planning to BT plus or pass up on, whatever it is. And of course, do let us know down in the comment section below if you have made it this far into the video. And if you have, thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. So Kaiden went first last time in the last video, so I am going first now. And so a quick history with both of these two characters in JP. I did green both. I do not regret greening either of the two. Like Sephiroth, I feel like with his BT effect, and especially with a lot of, or some of the recent characters that we have gotten in JP where they rely on like breaking a target, like having his BT effect active is it actually does come in handy. Like it might not be like something that everybody's gonna use, or you know, people might not like the duration of his BT effect or whatever it is with Sephiroth, but like overall though, like he definitely has his uses. Like his upgrades are good in terms of damage and all that good stuff, and the fact that he now provides additional or not additional, but they added more party ores to his BT effect. You know, it's a plus, and it's a little bit of something. But of course, for me at least, like I use them mainly for just his BT effect, and that's about it. But this time on global, I am going to hold off on greening Sephiroth, and I'm gonna wait until a later time during the FR era to actually green him, because I want to do some funny shenanigans which a lot of the JP players have been doing, and I'm gonna be focusing on Vincent this time. So I will be greening Vincent once again. I want to take advantage of the of his BT effect. I love the fact that there's like so much negative stuff that is affecting the enemy, and I benefit from it. And the fact that he makes it so that the enemy cannot buff themselves is a bigger plus. So I want to take advantage of that, and plus I do not want to suffer in tier 9, because without Vincent, it's a pain in it. It's a pain. So I shall be greening Vincent this time. What about you?
I was just listening to Can't Do T9 Without Vincent. I just go LOL.
I knew he was gonna say something.
Let's see. Well, for me, I would like to say that I'm definitely going to be going with Vincent as well. I would say I would like to give Sephiroth some love, but every single time that I run him in my team, I always get a copyright claim, so no. Gonna have to put you on the back burner for right now. But when Durgan shows up, I guess I can, I'll put you in at some point. But for right now, I really think that when it does come down to Vincent, his BT effect alone has the ability to cripple a boss. In more cases than not, you don't really need Vincent, but for me, he fits my playstyle. He has the ability to make my team hit harder. He also has the ability to completely make an enemy hit for one, so I don't really have to stack defense up in some situations or not. But I definitely know that in the team comps I do plan on running, I love running Rim, I love running Leo, and being able to help out Vincent whenever he needs to be able to get a turn, I can definitely do that. The only major thing that I can definitely say for sure when it comes down to two of them, Sephiroth requires a little bit more finesse, where Vincent also kind of sort of requires it, but in between the two, Vincent's BT effect is 10 turns, where Sephiroth needs a lot more dedication to get the most out of the 4 turns out on it. If you have it BT plus, you have it for 8 turns, where Vincent again has it for 20. There are multiple ways to take advantage of a BT effect, but with Vincent in the team, he actually feels fairly decent. And on top of that, the debuff armors do stack, so you can really cripple a boss.
That's very true.
Through just debuff armors. So I'm looking forward to putting Vincent and a couple of my favorites together. And if this doesn't say I'm an FF7 fanboy, I don't know what does. But all right. Definitely rolling with Vincent overall, though.
Now, before we end the video, we do want to add something else or something new to the Who Should You BT Plus videos, and that is by briefly mentioning the banner and letting you guys know, especially for newer players, like which one of the 2 banners are a better value. Now I'm going to be covering the Sephiroth banner. Kaiden will be covering the Vincent banner. Now, Sephiroth, like I mentioned in my portion, like he has his uses. Like, he did get a nice touch up. He does have some party orbs within his BT effect and whatnot. And of course, with his BT effect, for those who may not know, basically reduces the enemy's Brave to 1, which is an easy way to break them and be able to push them off in the turn order, especially if you have a good amount of turn hoggers and whatnot, so on and so forth. But the other character that is going to be appearing with Sephiroth is going to be Galoof, more than likely. Unless Global all of a sudden changes something, then, we'll see what happens. But from what we are going by on the JP side, Galoof was released with Sephiroth. And Galoof is an excellent evasion tank unit to pick up as well if you do not have him, or if you're missing something out of his kit, because he is very much going to be viable not only with the last few remaining weeks that we have for the Lufenia Plus era, but he's going to have his uses, his big time uses during the FR era. And once he gets his force enhancements, best believe he's going to be one of those like go-to characters, or one of the top choices for future Shinryu fights. So with the rework that he's getting, like he's going to be getting, I believe it's like more HP dumps in his counters, more HP dumps in general. Like overall, like they give him such a big upgrade to his kit that it's actually worth like chasing for if you're needing a character like that. Now, if you already have it, then hey, free upgrade. So when you look at the Sephiroth and the Galoof banner, it really just depends. Like if you want Sephiroth's gimmick, I would say go for it. But again, like do know that you may not be using him during like the beginning FR era, just because like, you got to get accustomed to all of the changes and whatnot. You're probably going to be pulling for other characters who are going to, give big numbers so everybody can go burr. But at the same time, though, you also have Galoof in that banner, which is a very good LD only unit to pick up for those who do not have it. So it just really depends on like what exactly you want to do and how you're gonna handle your resources on the Sephiroth banner.
I agree. Once it does come down to Vincent, I feel like Vincent's banner is probably going to have Setzer on it. Let's be honest, we keep getting Setzer every time. I joke though. I may not joke, who knows with me, but it seems like the other LD banner is going to be a toss-up, and it could very well be Realm. It would be nice to actually have Realm finally join the cast, like really be able to get her LD and join the rest of the C90 cast. But for the most part, I feel like if anybody's going to be really missing, or if anybody's been missing debuffers lately, and if you really need a debuffer, Vincent comes in like an ace. being able to have that 80% attack down, again, with his high armor being a part of that as well. And on top of that, for those who did miss his Global First event or his Global First LD appearance, you'll be able to pick up his LD, and on top of that, pick up his BT. As we stated from before, and as Lost talked about it, and I also talked about it, he has the ability to cripple a boss relatively quick. As Lost stated earlier, the boss also cannot gain buffs while his BT effect is active. T9 has been known for being rough around the edges with players, or from certain JP players. I myself have been getting a chance to work with a couple of my friends trying to help them down the fight when they did not have certain characters. Vincent was that major one there because he is featured, of course, but he stops their major gimmick, and that gimmick is the orb crippling people or killing people, because if they manage to put a lot of buffs on them, it reduces the orb entirely. They're really, like, you can do this fight without Vincent, but it becomes very hectic. The next step would be like looking at Kadaj or like looking at Sephiroth to keep the gold brain debuffs on them, so that way they can't cleanse them. But overall, I really feel like if you are a newer player and you're missing debuffs, or if you don't have like a solid debuffer, Vincent's an easy pickup. For those who have Laguna and those who have like their max 5 out of 5 gun and already used Laguna in the previous Transcendence, you can put that gun on Vincent and have a fun time in T9. Again, Vincent's damage output becomes a whole lot more significant in the current tier of fights that we're going to be dealing with. And on top of that, he can still be used in later tiers as well, even going into Shinryu. Shout out to Sephi, who's been pretty much running Turks everywhere. But, when it does come down to it, I can definitely say for sure Vincent has very good longevity across the board if you know how to use him properly and putting him with proper teammates. The fact that he can stop enemies from buffing makes him a very viable unit in some situations, because if we ever have to come across another Sahagin fight where they buff themselves again, Vincent can stop that. They may cleanse themselves, which is fine, but you know, at least they can't get Blessing. Blessing is a horrible, horrible buff. But either way you look at the situation, and it also depends on who the LD only character is going to be with him.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of hope that the LD character is going to be very beneficial in T9. And if they did bring Realm was also able to jump in on enemy turns too, so she should be able to help you keep the enemy turns in check. And if they do get a large amount of Brave, she should be able to really shave them down for you overall. But I still think if both banners have value to it, especially with Galoof on Sephiroth, but I still think Vincent in his own right is a definite pickup if somebody does not have a debuffer in their team.
So with that being said though, guys, again, let us know down in the comment section below what your plans are going to be, which banners are you going to be pulling on, or if you're going to pass up on either of these two banners, shoot, do let us know down in the comment section below. And like Kaiden said, you know, he will more than likely have a Kadaj run for the middle gate for tier 9. So if you're struggling and if you're not pulling for Vincent, go to Kaiden's channel.
I mean, yes, that is true. And on top of that, I think it's pretty much been safe to say a couple of different content creators ran Kadaj here. I think the biggest ones, like right off the top of my head, I've seen Alpino run Kadaj with Laguna Sphere, and he's able to maintain 3 golden debuffs. So even if you aren't running Vincent, Kadaj being able to gold frame debuffs and keep 3 of them on there, the enemies, you will not have an issue with the orb. It'll be just coming down to dealing with the on-turn damage and dealing with the turns that you have to deal with the fight. Because that HP check is real. They want you to take a very small amount of HP damage, if any, and they have a very tight turn count to that fight. Just prepare, guys, and make sure that you guys are thinking logically with this fight coming forward, because the more they buff, the more it goes against you. So them buffing is a counter against you, and they cleanse very heavy. So gold frame debuffs is your way to go to get out of this fight. If you guys are going to be tackling it, gold frame debuffs are the way to go, or stopping them from buffing is going to be your way to go.
So, but make sure to check out Kaiden's channel down in the comment section below, so that way, if you are struggling, though, you can check out his vids whenever he uploads his run. And with that being said, though, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and that's going to be it. So take care, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Take care.